Hello, lovely people, and welcome to the Distinct and Jovial podcast. My name is Dom, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Jerry. How you doing, Jerry?
I'm good, thank you, Dom, albeit just a smidge tired. But I'm good.
I think the term is hashtag knackered.
Hashtag on my knees with tiredness.
I'm glad you clarified with the tiredness at the end of that and not just on your knees.
Hashtag just saying.
This is our... Oh, the date is... I'm so tired as well. I don't even know what I'm doing with these intros anymore.
It's 2022.
Is it still? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
It is the 25th of May, 2022. It is a lot later than we would like to have recorded this for various life reasons and various tiredness reasons. But it is our 12th episode. Hey, we made it to a year.
Woo, woo, woo. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And we've got some corkers lined up. We've got some corkers of a topic this month, and we've got some corkers coming up. I've gone through and we're ready for lined ups for some super stuff. As always, the views on this podcast are expressly our own and do not represent the company that we work for. And I would like to caveat, we are both knackered. Our jobs are quite pressing at the moment, and we just have a lot of life stuff going on. So we're tired. We're no idea how this could be a bit delirious, which is always great. I'll do my sarcastic thumbs up, which people can now see if you're watching on YouTube. And we will do our best, won't we, Jerry?
We will. Is that the sarcastic thumbs up? Is that like the world's smallest violin?
Yes, sarcastic
kind of version of it.
Yeah. Tiny little.
Never seen that.
So you don't put your full thumb, just the tip of the thumb.
Just a little peek.
Sarcastic thumbs up.
You see, now we're on video.
Mm.
I can do my magic trick.
Oh, which
thumbs.
magic?
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that.
You can tell that you're a dad.
You're right.
Hashtag
listen,
just saying.
Don't tell me you weren't impressed. Come on.
I mean, I was impressed.
Thank you.
I have a dad, so I've been through that stage. And my dad will come up with some stupid sarcastic comment, and my mum will be like, "Adrian, will you stop it? Stupid boy." It's the stupid boy bit. My mum does it very, very well. She'll come across, "Stupid boy."
That's because she's had practice with you, Dom.
Yes. Yes. She'll say the first 6 years were my dad, and the next 30 years were me and my dad. And there's always a threat that one of these days her eyes are going to roll back so much that they're not going to roll back.
That's fantastic.
Welcome to dealing with me. And just to also say, Jerry's internet is a little bit slow, so if there's a little bit of, you won't notice it on the video, but if we're a little bit like there's a bit gaps, we might be waiting for it. To me at the moment, Jerry is in about 180p rather than 1080p, and that's not my eyesight, which we've just had a discussion over.
I'm blocky like a Commodore 64.
That's generous.
Oh wow, it was still good gameplay. Couldn't argue with that.
I don't know. I'm not old enough.
Oh yeah, okay. Actually, I'll give you that. Yeah, you're actually not old enough.
Commodore 64 was 1989.
Oh god, no, even before that. I got my first Commodore 64 in 1985, 86.
What was it? We have the internet. 82.
Yeah, it's old school. I got it about 3-4 years after it was released. So yeah, about 86.
64 kilobytes. 64 kilobytes of RAM.
You gotta love it. But the games are fantastic. You could play them all day, all night. It was incredible.
After you've installed the tape 6 times and wound it back.
Yeah. it would get right to the end, and then there would be some syntax error, so you'd have to reload the damn thing again.
Bust a myth for me. Is it true that you went to shops, picked up a magazine, and had to like literally type out what was in the magazine to play games?
Yes. So let me tell you a very painful memory of. I used to get the Commodore 60. There were about 3 or 4 of them that you could get. It was a Commodore 64 mag, basically. So I'd go to W.H. Smith's, I'd get the Commodore 64 mag, and then there'd be, 5 or 6 pages of basic code for a game, and they had screenshots of the game, and they said, just basically type this in, and you've got yourself a game, and you can actually save that onto tape. Yeah, lovely. So you'd spend about 3 days hammering out the code, and subsequently go to run that, and then you get a little syntax error at line 312. Okay, go and have a look at line 312. I don't see a problem with that. Check it against what's written in the magazine. Yeah, I've done that literally letter by letter. So then you try and do a manual fix, rerun it. Syntax error, line 607. Okay, go and check that, and that was your life for about a week. You'd never be able to fix the code. Then you'd chuck the Commodore 64 mag across the room in a fit of rage. Yeah, it's true.
And then next month, there'd be a new version of the magazine, and it would have in the footnotes, by the way, there was a spelling mistake on line
honestly,
712. It's actually this, not this.
Dom, that's exactly what they used to do. They used to actually publish that, say, really sorry, there's the error in the code, because people would then report back and say, hang about this. The people who are good at BASIC would spot the things, and they would write back. But then even at that point, you're thinking, well, I haven't saved this. I'm not spending another 3 days typing out this code, so you can all just off. And that was that. Yeah, those are the days. Look, those are the days when you used to order something. This is why it makes me laugh with like people like my daughter today, who order something. It's like, oh God, it's going to take 3 days or 2 days to get here. Oh, whereas back in my day, everything was mail order. And you would send something off through the post, which would take 2 to 3 days to get there anyway, because you'd have to pay by check.
Yeah.
And it would be 28 days from receipt of order. 28 days you'd have to wait for your item.
I've got stuff to do.
Yeah, honestly. But the crap I used to order through mail order was just ridiculous. Some die-cast models, or it could be like some nunchucks or whatever it was. It was just
Ninja
honestly.
throwing stars.
Yeah,
you and your John Wick fantasies.
I did get ninja throwing stars. In fact, I got nunchucks and I got ninja throwing stars. My mum was like, "What? What the hell are you doing? What is this? What do you need that for?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know. Just go out in the garden and throw throwing stars at a supply board." Yeah.
No, we've gone full circle back to mothers going, stupid boy.
Stupid boy. With the eyes rolling back.
Oh, God. Do you want me to roll them back to you? Yeah. I can already picture my mother now rolling her eyes. Because we regularly get updates on this podcast from my mum, who I don't know why is an avid listener, but she
loves it.
I love
it.
But she takes notes. So the Christmas episode we're sorted for next year, or later on this year, I should say. Because my mum's got loads of notes on the Christmas episode that we did, and she's just going to say, I think the first quote that she said was, "You're wrong." That's it. Nothing.
I like her decisiveness. I'll hand that to her.
Oh yeah. She's very, very, very willing to tell me when I'm wrong.
Nice.
She does hold a little bit of.
She's earned that right, Dom.
She's had to.
She's earned that right.
30 years, so yeah, and 37 years. I think my parents have been married this year. So yeah, 37 plus years dealing with my dad. I don't know how she survived. I know how bad I am. and I take after her on a lot of the things, not my dad. So there we go. Right, where were we? We've gone off on a tangent, and I love it. That's what I love.
We have. Where are we? I don't know where we are.
No,
what day is this?
don't.
Who are you?
Is it a Wednesday today? Isn't it? I think that we were.
I think so. Yeah. This has actually thrown me now. But
yeah. Normally we record either on a Friday or a Saturday. I think we've done one Sunday, potentially. But I'm going to struggle.
Did we? I can't remember.
Potentially. This podcast was going to be I've written alcoholic special rather than alcohol special. I have just noticed that. And social special. So the idea came from one of our guests, Adam, suggested that we do, for poignant questions, we do the alcohols, and we actually, similar to the snack wars that we had in the last one, we actually do the alcohol. We decided that was not a good idea for two reasons. The first reason, I think both me and Jerry would go, we are pretty much very lightweight, so after about 3 drinks, this could become a disaster.
2 for me.
2. I wouldn't even get that far. I don't think. Depends how strong the drinks are.
I'd open the bottle and pass out.
Yeah. The other reason is alcohol has to go somewhere, and we tend to record these in one stint. We can break and pause, but it's the best not one. So you will not see us drinking alcohol. Plus, it's a school night. It's a school night. We can't be drinking tonight.
Exactly. Rumpus time is over. We need our 8 hours.
Yeah. The last thing I want to be doing is trying to do meetings tomorrow hungover with the temptation to want to just Ralph everywhere.
Ralph. I mean, I can't do meetings sober or, on 8 hours sleep. So if we were to drink tonight, it would just be an absolute disaster.
Maybe we'd do better in meetings if we were drunk.
Just drink through meetings, see how it goes.
Yeah. No, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it is a shocking idea.
I'm open and honest as much as possible, but there are moments where I do switch off my mic and my webcam and just go. And for our auditory listeners, that's full hands in the air, going, "What are you talking about, you?" and insert insult into the
Bleep.
thing. Yes, lots of bleeping. Yeah. Some of the words cannot be repeated. But we are going to talk a little bit about alcohol in our food section. So we'll go on to the food of the month section, which is very simple. What is our alcoholic beverage of choice? It's going to be a long podcast.
It's going to be a long one. So it's difficult enough to do this sober. Can you imagine if we were drinking? Right.
Well, I mean, Adam did say it would either be the worst thing ever or the best thing ever.
Yeah, my money would be on the former. I don't think we'd be able to keep it together.
No.
You have to go first on this one.
Alcohol. So I'm a it depends person, I will admit. Sunny day, there is nothing that beats a fruity cider. Good old, what was it? Could be a Koppenberg or an old malt.
Like dark fruits?
No, I'm not a fan of a Strongbow dark fruits. I think Strongbow has got a little bit of how to phrase it. I'm going to call it club piss. That kind of smell that, when you're in a club and it's like 2:00 in the morning and just everything smells of pee. That's Strongbow to me.
As you walk into the gents and you almost do the splits because your foot slips on the pee and you think, "Oh, I've just been hit by a strong smell of pee." Oh no, is that dark fruits? I don't know anymore.
Yes. Yeah, that kind of
cool.
Real stale. But I do enjoy Koppenberg, Old Moot. There's a couple of others. Recorder Leg. That on a sunny day. But if I'm going to go for my, I'll go for my kind of like, if I'm having a mixer and a spirit, it's going to have to be whiskey. And if I'm going for a cocktail, I do like a Long Island iced tea.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Is
You
that
have
it?
to go now, Jerry. Yes,
Is it my turn, is it?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Paint thinner is usually my usual standard weapon of choice. White spirit, standard weapon of choice. Followed closely by this is really difficult for me. So on a hot day, it would have to be an icy cold gin and tonic. So you have to have shed loads of ice in there. There's nothing worse than making gin and tonic. When somebody makes you a gin and tonic and they plonk one bit of ice in there, which is smaller than the sugar cube, and you're like, damn it.
No.
Don't waste your time.
I need it to freeze all the way to my bollocks. Sorry, mother.
I end up 2 below. So, yeah, an icy cold gin and tonic. You can't beat a good scotch. Well, I have to say, I'm definitely getting a taste for bourbon. So, Jack Daniel's Gentleman Jack on the rocks. That's nice. That's nice.
I do like the honey version of that as well.
The honey version is lovely as well.
Mainly because I think honey is probably the most incredible substance known to man.
It is.
And
bees.
God save the bees. So yeah, I can concur with that. I'm not sure if I've ever had it on the rocks.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, you wouldn't.
Try that.
Gentleman Jack's lovely. You wouldn't want to mix that with Coke or anything. That'd be a crying shame. It's got such a nice aftertaste, a sort of apple and cinnamon kind of aftertaste. Really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think an ice cold beer. So Modelo is an amazing beer, Mexican beer, one of the nicest beers I've ever had. It's very rich, that's also got a bit of a honey flavour. I think there's a theme going here. You and I, sort of we like that sort of honey, that's slightly sweet taste. So Modelo's got that. It's really nice beer. So ice cold Modelo is difficult to beat.
Beer is in a category of I've got a category of like food items I'd like to like that I don't.
Okay.
So there's quite a few, and I've probably mentioned them in previous podcasts. But beer is something I'd like to like because I've recently gone on a stag do, and I've got a story for one of our poignant questions later on, which will make everybody laugh. But I arrive and we're in Barcelona, so everyone's going right. I want a beer, and they bring out like a litre. It's literally a litre, right? It's a litre. And if you ask for a water, you get like 200 milliliters. It's like we had a non-drinker on when we went to the stag do, and he commented about a day into it, going, "My biggest risk is not the drinking. I'm going to die from dehydration if they don't give me more than flipping thimbles worth of like water." And we found one place, and they gave him 330 milliliters rather than the 200 milliliter bottle of water. And he went, "Oh my God, I'm not going to die."
It's almost like there's a water shortage, but a plethora of beer.
Yeah, beer was cheaper than water out in Barcelona. It was
what,
weird.
For real? Really?
Pretty much. In some places, it genuinely was, because you couldn't ask for tap water. But I don't like beer, so I wasn't somebody that sat down. So the first night, it was a big jug. It was literally called the big jug menu. So they got a litre of beer each, and I got a litre of sangria.
Oh my God.
And I hadn't eaten at this point, so it hit me like a pangalactic gargle blaster, which is the same feeling of having a Goldbic wrapped in a lemon smashed into your face.
which is slowly sort of losing the feeling of.
Yeah.
Or rapidly, depending on.
Yeah.
A litre of sangria, that's insane.
Yeah. I drank all of it. And then made sure I had the biggest, dirtiest burger for dinner afterwards. So
you have to, otherwise you're going to end up ralphing.
Yeah. And considering, didn't Ralph on that trip at all.
It's good.
I'm
impressed.
So, yeah. That I think it was one of those things, like beer is, I want to like beer so that I can be one of the boys, so to speak, and when somebody goes, "Oh, should we get a beer in and sit in the sun?" That'd be great. I mean, that's okay in an English pub where I can go, "I'll have a cider." But, yeah.
That's a good point. Do they have ciders and things out? Well, I'm sure they do, but It's probably not a big thing out in Spain, is it?
It's not a big... Cider is not a big European thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Cider is very much a very British thing, I've found. Like, it's very rarely on. And if it is, it's normally, like I said, it's normally piss water from Strongbow. It's not anything nice or fruity, or even have that option. So, you know, even when I go to like the Netherlands, which I'm doing in a couple of days' time, okay, I'm competing, so there'll be no alcohol, but there's no option to do that. It's very weird. So, but yeah, it just, beer is in that category of I want to like it, so I can sit down and just have a beer with people.
Okay. So, competing in the Netherlands, that must be quite an interesting concept. I just have visions of everybody being completely stoned, absolutely caved. You're like,
we get drugs tested.
Yeah. Dom, you're up. And you're like, no, listen, man, I'm a peace lover.
I can't tell stories from the Netherlands because my mother listens to this podcast.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
those
fine.
Those are for offline. But
we'll cover that up tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, we'll cover that tomorrow in our catch up. But the I will say, actually, as part of the tournament, we get randomly drugs tested. Any of the international tournaments,
okay.
And this is also my bogey tournament. In the 12 years I've been doing it, I've only managed to go through one round. I've won medals elsewhere, just this tournament. So, and I'm not. This is a training session for me for this tournament. This podcast goes out after that I've done the tournament, so it's okay. But yeah. But I can't say all of the stories from the Netherlands because they're not.
No,
they're not parent appropriate.
You need like an OnlyFans page, don't you? OnlyFans section for it's paid content only to hear about what happens in.
Can be found at onlyfans.com/Dom. That's not real, by the way.
Whoa!
Please don't.
That just rolled off the tongue there. That's a bit worrying.
Yeah, I have the worst name for certain things, websites, and clearly to do with sexual acts. Being a Dom is not necessarily a good or a bad thing.
That's fantastic.
I may have broken Jerry.
You have.
We said we were tired. We said that we could be a bit delirious. It's all good. I'm just not looking forward to the Sunday after this podcast goes out and my mum texted me going, "What are you two on about?"
What? Yeah, seriously. It's just going downhill. It's going into the gutter.
Dig up, stupid. Oh dear. I did put in some like other bits and pieces where almost like where I thought we might get to be able to do a mini beverage wars, but there's no way I'm going to be able to drink any alcohol, or I should be drinking any alcohol.
It's making me laugh. I just love the fact that this is so real. It's so raw as well.
Yeah.
Completely unscripted, unplanned. It's just, okay. It's a Wednesday. We can't drink. This is nuts. I'm going
to, very off topic. Have you seen the short video, so Vine or TikTok? And there's a guy, and he's a little bit overweight, long hair, and he gets like some goggles, and he's wearing a Spider-Man costume minus the mask, but he's wearing swimming goggles. And he stands in the mirror recording him, and he goes, "It's Wednesday, my dudes."
No,
have you seen that before? Oh,
no,
okay.
I haven't.
It will be lost on you. I'll dig out the original video and show you that, so that when I come onto a call on that we both commonly have on our the company, yes. I can go in. "It's Wednesday, my dudes," and that's it. I know that you'll crack because you'll have seen that video. Gonna educate you in memes.
Send that to me. Vines. Yes. You see, that's going back some. They don't exist anymore, do they?
I mean, so Vine was the short form 6-second video format that people like Logan Paul and a load of King Batch, Amanda Cerny, loads of like now famous YouTubers kind of like bought up. I mean, Logan Paul's probably the most famous. The Paul brothers, Logan and Jake Paul, probably the biggest two. And now you've got things like TikTok, which is you can have up to a minute, but generally that kind of spun out a little bit from Vine being a really good idea onto like and a bit of what they call Musically. So you kind of the idea was you lip sync, and then people started dancing, and now they just kind of make short form videos, which some are brilliant. So you've got Charlie D'Amelio and Carby, I think his name is Khaby. I could never pronounce KB. As being kind of one of the top TikTokers. But yeah, the It's Wednesday, my dudes. It's kind of one of the original memes that came out of Vine. The other one being where there's a bloke and he gets punched in the face, and his reaction is, "I can't believe you've done this." I know, it's brilliant. I'll find some like original kind of Vines that were in my like as I grew up, and I think you'll probably have seen some of them. Probably.
What is it? Talking of Jake Paul, what is it with this guy? He's calling out everyone for a fight. The Pope, my mum. He wants to fight everyone.
The Pope. I mean, the YouTube boxing scene, we're going so off piece, but this is something I'm quite invested in. So the original fight, the original fight was between a guy called JJ and Joe Weller. JJ known as KSI on the internet. And they're part of a group called The Sidemen, which I watch a lot of. That's the YouTube group. I mean, they're all about all the gents from The Sidemen are roughly the same age, give or take, kind of a couple of years younger than me. So I grew up watching their GTA videos. It's why I do my YouTube channel. It's purely their reason. Right. So they had a fight, and then JJ fought Logan, who's Jake Paul's older brother, twice. So the first time that was a draw, second time JJ won, and then JJ's now you might have heard him. He's on the charts with like Holiday, and he's got a song with Anne Marie. He's kind of grown from this YouTuber to being like massive. I can't remember what his song with Anne Marie is "Don't Play," and yeah, his solo song that did well was "Holiday." So you would have heard it on the charts because he got number 2 in the singles and number 1 in the albums. KSI is probably who you want to search for.
Okay, this is definitely going to divide the audience. So the only Holiday I know about is Madonna's Holiday.
They're just showing your age there. That's what that is.
Yeah, and proud of it.
But on the Jake Paul thing, so after Logan Paul carried on the boxing, JJ kind of did his music career, and Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather. So undefeated, a YouTuber, or originally a Viner, is fighting arguably pound for pound the greatest boxer there is. Debatable, but Floyd Mayweather. And it was an exhibition, so it was a draw, so nobody won. But Jake Paul was on the undercard of the KSI Logan fight, and he fought KSI's brother and beat him. And then he's now gone on. He's fought a UFC fighter, Ben Askren, and a basketball player, and he's knocked both of them out. Now the basketball player was, he's a basketball player. He's an athlete, but so's Jake Paul. They're ex-wrestlers, and not WWE wrestlers, but kind of like proper the wrestling kind of Olympic sport that you've got. But the Ben Askren one was quite impressive because Ben was an MMA fighter, so he knew how to fight, even if he wasn't a boxer. So now Jake Paul is like, it's big money, like they're earning millions from it.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's why he's calling anybody out that he can, because he wants to really pull it in.
If he's calling out basketball players, as he called out Shaquille O'Neal, I'd like to see him knock him out.
Big Shaq. Yeah.
Shaq would he would just take him down. 10 seconds,
probably.
It'd be game over.
It'd be interesting because, since the YouTubers have started it, there's been loads of other fights like this. There's like they did a TikTok versus YouTube fight and things like that. The other interesting one, which you don't know if you did see, was Eddie Hall versus The Mountain. Hathor Bjornsson.
Wow.
So Eddie Hall is 2017's World's Strongest Man, and Hathior is 2019, I think, World's Strongest Man, and also played The Mountain. But apparently they have major beef during the kind of like the championships, and they had a boxing fight, and Hathior won, but it wasn't. But bearing in mind that Hathior is like 6'9" and had something a ridiculous reach, and Eddie is only 6'3".
Oh, what a shorty!
Yeah, I think Hathior might be bigger than that. Let me just
Shorty.
Hathior. What's it? Hathior. Hathior.
This is ridiculous.
Oh, it only has it in. It has it. It's in two. He's 206 centimeters. Which is in feet. Can it do it feet and inches? Come on, Google, don't let me down. Oh God, I want to see what it is. So what's that? 6'9"? Yeah, 6'9", and Eddie is only 6'3".
Only
6'3". But because of that, like you'd thought it'd be really one-sided, but it apparently it wasn't. It was a really good fight, but Hathior did eventually just come up trumps.
You'd want Hathior around, wouldn't you, if you couldn't open a jar of pickles or something?
He's a big
come
dude.
in handy. He is a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude. Both of them are. Both Eddie Hall and Hathior they're big guys. World's Strongest Man is not a feat to be sniffed at. Really random. That was the most random segue topic, and I absolutely love it.
I actually don't know how the hell we got onto that.
No, I would love to do like a boxing kind of podcast and go through some of the YouTube fights, but also some of the boxing stuff, because I do like the boxing with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua and
Mike Tyson,
Anthony Lewis,
Iron Mike. Yeah, I watch highlights regularly. Watch highlights of Iron Mike. I can't stop watching because for me, to this day, I've never seen a boxer do the stuff that Mike Tyson did. Yeah. He's incredible.
I've got a lot of respect for Tyson Fury.
Yeah, Tyson Fury is amazing, and I love the fact that he's not ripped or anything. He's just like. Because there was something that showed a photo of him like in some swimming trunks or something, and he just looks like he's just got this dad bod, and it's like, this is what a world champion, heavyweight boxer looks like.
I think they were talking about it. I think it was talking about like when his preparations for one of the fights, because Anthony Joshua looks ripped, and he was saying, "Look at him, he's probably eating a salad. Me, I've just downed 2 pints of Stella and I'm ready to go out."
Nice.
Like, what?
Nice.
2 pints of Stella and a packet of crisp.
And do you know what? AJ would not. There's no way he'll beat Fury. No way. Absolutely no way.
I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan for just his, like, before the first Anthony Ruiz fight, especially because of his fight against Vladimir Klitschko. But I did feel, I was like, I always felt nervous when he was in the ring.
Yeah, I did as well.
If you know what I mean. Whereas when Tyson's in the ring, I just think, well, whatever.
Yeah.
And when he lost to, so Anthony's lost to Anthony Ruiz, and then he's lost to, who did he lose to? He lost to the other Ukrainian, didn't he? Who went up a weight, and it was like, and Anthony just needed to knock him out. Right, that would have been the easy, but he decided to try and outbox him, and it's like, you can't outbox someone who's smaller and faster than you. It doesn't work. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's loads I could go on for hours about this. So,
all right, well, that's an idea for a
future podcast. Look at us planning on the podcast, folks.
God, this is agile at its finest.
Do not mention that word.
Fragile.
Not in this.
Okay, no, I won't.
Because the company takes
out.
over too much of my life.
Bleep it.
Where's the time, son? 35 minutes. Okay. I can bleep it out. There was a bit of a Beverage Wars that I put in, purely because I thought we were going to have actual alcoholic stuff, but we decided not to. So we'll rattle through these fairly quickly.
Can I just,
so
before we go into it, can it just, the bit that makes me laugh is like, Beverage Wars! Snowballs.
That's
This is White Russians. Beverage Wars. Snowball. Beverage War. Snowball.
I'm going to get you to do a voiceover for that. Beverage Wars.
Beverage Wars. Snowball. Is it Snowball?
Oh, dear. I don't know why I chose those two. Actually, that
random.
Well, it's because I watched The Big Lebowski.
Yes.
Which is the drink from The Big Lebowski.
Love it.
And then we had snowballs on New Year when we had with our other
They're
guests,
nice, aren't they? I do like snowballs. Yeah.
And the reason why snowballs came to mind is because and that was one of our later questions. So I'll wait till we get onto that. But yeah, I mean, it's they're both fairly simple to make, and it was just a case of two. Okay, this is going to sound wrong, and it's probably a clip for our thing. They're both creamy drinks, in the good sense. Jesus. But they are.
They are. You can't argue with that.
For me, it's going to have to be the White Russian.
All the way. Because of Lebowski.
Yeah, because of the dude.
The dude.
Oh, God. I need to watch that film again. And then it was, beer versus cider. That's obviously, I've already said that I'm a big cider drinker.
I'm beer.
You're a beer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had bad experiences with cider, especially Strongbow. We used to do pub crawls when I was in my teens, and getting drunk on ciders, like crap cider is not good.
Getting drunk on cider is not a drink I'd want to get drunk on.
Yeah, it's not pleasant
because it tends to be quite stodgy. I think that's the word.
I could think of other words, but we'll stick with stodgy.
I want to hear what your words are now.
Pissy.
Well, it is if it's strong.
Vomity.
Yes. Ralphie. No, I think, but I couldn't get drunk on cider.
Yeah, it's brutal. I only did it once. Never again. Yeah, no, not good. Not good at all.
And then I put choice of mixer. And I know that we're going to disagree on this one because you've already said that you quite like a gin and tonic.
Yeah, I do.
I think tonic water is the worst.
I love tonic. I used to hate it. Actually, I've acquired a taste for tonic over time. I never really liked G&T. In fact, I only started really liking G&Ts from about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm a recent convert to it. And tonic water, actually, now I like it to the point where, if I'm at a party but I've got to drive, I'll have a tonic water with ice and lemon. Just on its own, it's lovely. Okay,
I don't think I've quite inherited that or matured my palate enough to have. I can't stand tonic waters. Oh God. Yeah, no.
I don't know why I like it now. I don't know why. It's weird, isn't it?
It's got the similar taste to me as, and people are gonna cry at this, as fizzy water. Now, if somebody says to you fizzy water tastes exactly the same as normal water, they're wrong. Fizzy water tastes very different, and tonic water is very similar to me in taste to fizzy water.
What tonic have you been drinking?
Evidently not very good ones.
Clearly. You should try a Fever Tree. Have you had Fever Tree?
I couldn't tell you what I've had, so
okay, try a Fever Tree.
Is the honest answer. But I have to get some gin. I need some gin.
Yeah. And do you know what's a damn good gin? Very underrated, and people turn their nose up at it because people who like gin these days now tend to be gin snobs, so they'll say, I don't know, they'll come out with some random one called like Bishop's Nipple or whatever. There's always something just weird, and you go, I've never seen that gin before. Oh yeah, it's small batch. They only make like 500 milliliters of it, and
it would be named Bishop's Nipple.
Yeah, Bishop's Nipple, and there's a 14-year waiting list, and all right, whatever. But actually, Beefeater is a very good gin. It's an amazingly versatile. Well, It's traditional, isn't it?
I suppose if it's named after the Royal Guards,
It
the
is,
Beefeaters,
yeah,
then,
it is.
then that makes a bit more sense. Although there must be a reason. Oh, that's good. I could go down another rabbit hole. Why are they called Beefeaters? What the?
I don't know.
There'll be a reason.
Because they like sausages.
The irony being, sausages are usually made from pork.
Exactly. Hashtag ironic.
Beefeaters. Why? Because they like pork sausages.
I like a good bacon sandwich, mate, but you're a beef eater. Eat beef.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
Oh,
but only
no.
like pork-based products. Anyway. But don't tell anyone, because I'm a beef eater.
Oh no!
Why in a West Country accent as well? I just don't know.
I don't know. That was the bit that got me. Why was it in a Somerset accent?
I have no idea. I have no idea. It just seemed like the right thing to do at the
It
time.
just seemed like the right thing to do. That's incredible.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yes.
Shall we move? We'll move on to poignant questions, but they are all related to apparently an alcoholic special rather than alcohol special and social special, which you'll understand as we get into the ones. And the first question actually is to do with the cocktails, was the question I nearly spoiled. But what classes as a cocktail? Because the snowball I feel is cheating because it's only 2 ingredients.
Yeah, that's not a cocktail.
Yeah, but it is, and I'll explain why. I think why. But your opinion on it, because if that was true, if it's 2 ingredients as a cocktail, does that make like a rum and coke a cocktail?
No. For me, you have to have at least 3 ingredients to make it a cocktail, because otherwise it's just a alcohol with a mixer. And that's not a cocktail. As you say, you could gin and tonic, JD and Coke, vodka and orange. That's not a cocktail. That's just standard drink.
They're all very tasty, but
yeah, they're great.
Standard drink,
which actually makes it interesting, because then, White Russian. So technically, then a White Russian, if you had to work off the rule of 3, a White Russian would be a cocktail.
Yes, because it is
It's vodka, Kahlua, and milk.
Yeah,
or cream.
Coffee liqueur and fresh cream. Yeah, yes. Whereas a snowball cocktail is a classic snowball. So, because it's lime juice or lime cordial is optional, Advocat, and sparkling lemonade. But apparently, so I actually went and looked this up because I was really curious about what officially makes a cocktail. And it means that I then get a little bit confused about some of the other ones. So it's a little bit blurry between whether it needs at least 3 ingredients or it needs at least 2 ingredients and a garnish. I love a sprinkling of garnish as we
Sprig of
garnish
parsley.
of sprig of parsley, a garnish of joviality, as we put in our bio.
Yes.
We are a cocktail, apparently. And apparently, a snowball traditionally has a cherry as its garnish, which is what makes it a cocktail.
So the lime, I didn't actually know about the lime cordial, so that's a bit dodgy for a start.
Yeah, lime juice or lime cordial.
Yeah, that's a bit dodgy. And then to put a cherry on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
Whereas I think the ones that we had at Laura's over New Year was just Advocat and sparkling lemonade.
Yeah, that's all you want.
And just done them as quickly as possible to get as drunk as possible on New Year.
I do like Advocat. I actually like it neat. That's how much I like it.
Ooh,
neat from the fridge.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Just a little
It's got
shot,
a very
shot glass.
Very interesting taste from memory, hasn't it? But it's 50-50 apparently.
Well, I prefer it neat, actually. I think the lemonade... It's nice with the lemonade, but the lemonade, I think, takes away from a lot of the flavour of the Advocat, which is actually really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just looking on the BBC for the classic snowball. Private Snowball. Not very PC quote, but one of my favourite quotes.
Classic film.
What is the film called? Full Metal Jacket?
Full Metal Jacket, yeah.
Yeah. Private Snowball!
That's with Private Pile as well, wasn't it? Gomer Pyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great film. Fill a glass with ice, and if using, add up to 50 ml of lime juice or lime cordial, all to your taste. Pour the Advocat and lemonade over the ice and stir gently until the outside of the glass feels cold. Step 2. Garnish with a cherry. That's what it says.
What the hard on for cherry? Leave the cherry. Don't need the bloody cherry. It's ridiculous.
It's like, do you de-stone it before you put it in, or do you?
I've got a
Or is it
better
the type
idea.
or is it the type of cherry you get on a cherry bakewell?
It is. I think that's a glacé cherry, yeah, and that makes it
Yeah.
even worse.
It says it's a maraschino. Maraschino. Maraschino cherry.
I've got a Scooby.
No, I haven't got Scooby. I don't know what that is.
Can I just say, so that I'm looking up Snowball Cocktail, and there's a website. I won't read out the website, but obviously you've got the URL, and then it's got the / and it just says Snowball-cock, and that's it. Okay, thanks to that.
We couldn't make this up tonight, could we?
No,
If we tried, even if we tried to kind of do this, you couldn't make
you
this
couldn't
up.
make it up.
Oh dear. I'm so
Right.
sorry, listeners. I'm not, but I'm sorry. All
Sorry,
I can
not
do,
sorry.
All I can say is I hope you're as entertained and as amused and as childish as we are.
Yeah.
And mother, I will roll your eyes back later. Oh dear. Question 2 on poignant questions. Opinions on beers and ales. I suppose more on the ales for me, because I cannot stand them. So I'm curious to see where you stand with the different ales.
Yeah, I like ales. I do like them. Yeah, because you've got some interesting flavours there, and you haven't got that same level of fizziness that you have with normal beers. So it doesn't bloat you like a normal beer does, and there's something a bit old school about it, like mead. It's nice. Yeah, I like ales.
I always love when you have this like modern like outlook on life with things, which I really love. But there's a few bits that you're really old school on, and that the way you just went to mead, was like that's Jerry in his like old school puffer jacket, pipe, full kind of. Yeah, what's it called?
Monocle.
Monocle. Yeah, those types of things. That's where you show your old side, shall we say?
Yeah, because this is when I go into a pub, I say a foaming flagon of your finest ale.
Ale,
Stout
please, sir.
yeoman of the bar. That's my usual way of ordering.
That's even better if we're doing after watching The World's End. Yes.
Yes. Watched it again at the weekend.
Oh, did you watch it again?
I watched it again. I can't stop watching it.
It's a good film.
It's a cracking film.
It's a cracking film. Yeah. All right, my love. Yeah. Hot Fuzz quotes come to mind because I link that to Hot Fuzz, and that's it. I could quote that film until the cow comes home. No, I don't know if ales is quite in the same category as beers because it feels a bit niche to me.
It's niche, but there's definitely more. But I think there's a bigger variety of ales actually than there are beers.
And similar to your Bishop's Nipple gin, they always have weird names like Hobgoblin or Speckled Hen, or I'm sure there's probably one called the Goose Cock or something ridiculous like that. That's because that's what ales do.
You've got to start your own brewery now, Dom, with some of the weirdest sounding ales. The weirdest named ales.
I could just provide a service. It's just weird names. Do you want to name it? What are you going to name this?
Yeah,
Goose Cock. I feel like I'm Richard Hammond of the group, you know, where we'll come across like, so when they were when they're building the bridge over the River Kwai, where they actually built it over the River Cock, they got some like some vodka, and they're like, let's drink this. What's it called? Black Cock. Sometimes I feel like that. Or it's the comment where he's in the Dodge Demon, going completely off a tangent here, where he's in the Dodge Demon and he goes, did you know that as standard you only get one seat in this car? You can opt to put the other 3 in and it costs you $1. And the quote back is, which seat do they put in as standard? That just gets me every time.
Is that true though?
Yes, as standard in a Dodge Demon challenge, in a Dodge Challenger Demon, they only put one seat in. It's obviously the driver's seat that they stick in.
Well,
purely for lightness. It's built for drag racing because it's an American muscle car. But in true American sense, you can get them all still put back in, and but it costs you $1, which is unlike a BMW, where it'll be like, oh, you want a steering wheel, sir? That'll be £200.
It's true. I remember years ago, I really wanted a BMW 3 Series, and BMW did this cracking marketing campaign, which clearly worked because it got me hooked to start with, which was you can get a BMW 3 Series from as little as, I don't know, 16,000 or whatever it was, but that was without an engine, no exhaust, no seats, no steering wheel, no windows, no headlights. Oh, okay. If you want to add all of that up, then put it all together, the car ends up costing you about 140 grand.
And what's interesting, they don't offer indicators as an option.
Never.
Because no driver uses them.
Although that's changed over the years, doesn't it? It used to be, oh, bloody hell, BMW drivers never use their indicators. Then it became, it was Audi drivers. And then Volvo, interestingly enough.
Volvo. No, it's never Volvo. Volvos are cool. I will not hear a bad word said about Volvos.
No, I love Volvos.
Are cool.
I love Volvos, but people that drive Volvos now, they're yeah. Well, I'm not even going to comment on people that drive Range Rovers. That's just
yeah.
Okay, that's been consistent.
Yes. Yeah. If you drive a posh late Range Rover, not the original Defender, but if you buy
at the risk of upsetting a lot of people, which I know I'm going to do, you have to be a certain type of person to drive a Range Rover.
Of course you do. Yeah, you do.
And I don't think I need to be explicit about the type of person that you need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Chelsea Road.
The world is run by people that drive Range Rovers. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, I know what you mean on that one.
Right.
I know what you mean on that one.
There you go. I don't need to say any more.
Can we leave it there?
Yeah, let's move on.
Swiftly moving on.
Swiftly. Nothing to see here.
Question 3. Getting a taxi. I love your quote on this. You've got to read out your quote on this that you've put in the note.
Well, this has actually happened to me. So,
I can really believe it is.
Yeah, how about giving a taxi driver a £5 note and some shrapnel, asking to be taken as far as possible on that meagre amount, then walking the remaining 6 miles home, which actually happened to me after a night out.
The interesting thing, that £5 note and shrapnel would get you about 40 yards these days.
Listen, it got me about 60 yards back then. It was bad. It literally got me about a mile up the road. 2 miles, actually. So I went out clubbing in High Wycombe. It's where we used to live. And lived sort of 8 miles outside of High Wycombe. And I remember just stumbling towards this taxi thinking, because I thought I'm going to have to go home. Excuse me. I'm laughing so much it's making me cough. I thought, I've got to go home. It's a long night. I just need my bed. And I got into this taxi and I said, this is all I've got. And it was just £5. It's like £5 and 83 pence or something in 5 and 10 p's. And yeah, it was really embarrassing. I said, can you just take me as far as you can take me on this? And the guy literally just pulled out. He drove up about, it seemed like a mile, and then pulled over and said, I'm really sorry, I have to let you out. And I spent 50 minutes or an hour, something like that, walking home in the freezing cold.
Oosh.
And I do walk fast, so that was, I was proper going for it. So that was
It's interesting. So the reason why I put get in a taxi. So obviously in this day and age with like Uber and things like that, my stereotypical millennial or just my social anxiety really kicks in. So there's like all these types of questions like, do I sit in the front seat? Do I sit in the back seat? Do I talk to them? If they've got terrible music taste, what happens if we need to pull over for some reason? And it's like, it's all those kind of things. I'm just like, I can't stand getting a taxi. I also cannot stand public transport as well. It's just all this kind of like awkward mess. Yeah. I'm really bad. It's my real bad streak with the environment, because it's like, if I've got the option that I can drive it, I will drive it.
You just want the comfort of your own vehicle, don't you?
Yeah, I can't be dealing
listening
with
to
people.
Wings.
Oh no.
Or it doesn't have to be. It can be anything. Is he getting
anything?
Yeah.
And then there's always like with a taxi, like the taxi is one of the worst ones. So I can get on board with Uber because it's like, oh, your journey's going to cost you, even if it costs you like 27 quid, it's going to cost you 27 quid.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been sat in the back of a taxi going, yeah, I've only got like 15 quid on me, and that meter's going up a lot quicker than I expect.
Yeah, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to how this thing works. So
No.
It makes funny clicking, whirring noises, and then it just starts. But it starts going up and up and up really quickly, and you think, we haven't even like set off yet.
We've not even moved.
We haven't even moved, and you're already charging me a tenner. How does that work?
Yeah, like just saying.
Damn it.
Like I don't. Yeah, it's that transparency. That's that's why Uber and things like that were successful, because they're like, well, A, I know how much it's going to cost, and B, there you go, I've paid. I don't need to have shrapnel in my pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, oh, do I need to haggle over like? It's the only time where I don't understand like when I should be given a tip and when I shouldn't.
I was just going to say, do you leave a tip? I don't know.
Because it's like, if with Uber, you've been transparent with the journey. It's like, well, yeah, I expect you to take me where I want to go. Why do you need a tip? I don't get it. Oh, and then I don't know what the etiquette. And it's one of the reasons why I'm absolutely petrified to go to America, because for a host of reasons, but one of those reasons is like just the tip, and it's like just the tip. That was really bad. I apologise.
Dom, what is going on tonight? I tell you what.
I do not know.
Oh, good
Hold
Lord.
it together, Dom. Yeah, it's like, what's the rules? It's social rules that I want written down. That's what I want.
Yeah, you need the social
This
guidelines.
unwritten rule malarkey. Write it down, for God's sake.
Yeah, so rather than just throw the bowling ball down the alley of rules without the barriers, and then you end up in the gutter. You need the barriers up, don't you?
Yeah. I can work within the guidelines, but I need the guidelines.
Yeah.
Full Jack Sparrow. Question 4. Later. Question 4. Drinking drinks from the wrong container. So like wine from a mug, tea from a glass, water from a champagne flute. Do you know what? I'm going to make you laugh. Right, I'm going to really make you laugh for this one. Right, I think this might be like my secret fetish. I love drinking drinks from the wrong container. I don't know why.
Well,
like
milk from a shot glass. I've done that. I liked it.
I mean, I've done that in the eye. That's a story we're not going to go into. That's a Netherlands type story. So let me offline. No, I love it. Like drinking wine from a mug is probably one of the best decisions I ever made. It was brilliant, and it was a Sports Direct mug, so you could get half the bottle.
Oh my God, Sports Direct. It's ridiculous.
Drinking a bottle of red
whole
wine.
bottle, for God's sakes.
Almost. It's half of it. It's dangerous, but yeah, I don't know why. It tasted better in a china mug than it would have done in a wine glass. And every single wine connoisseur is going, "What are you doing?" I don't know what. It was a cheap bottle of red wine, whatever, and I was having a steak dinner. It's fine. But yeah, and then I realised I didn't have any clean glasses, so I was like, well, I'll just pour it into the Sports Direct mug. I'm sure it'll be fine.
That's wrong. That's
I think it's great. It's like my secret kind of like thing. Drinking beverages from the wrong drink.
What about
from the wrong container?
What about having like a caramel latte, but you suck it out of a damp cloth? Does that count as a vessel?
No.
Okay.
But drinking tea, like a cup of tea from a glass, is amazing.
What?
Yeah.
What? The tea from a wine glass?
No, just a normal kind of. You get like those thin, like tumbler glasses.
Oh my God!
That you normally
Dom?
drinking tea from one of them. Great.
What?
It's one of the best. I love it.
Okay.
Absolutely love it.
That is some kind of a fetish. I think we might just.
I
have
don't
to
know.
leave that there.
I
Yeah, I think that is.
So it's
I
not
really
for you.
do. No, and I put Diet Coke from a shoe, but it's just you might as well. It's just weird.
No, you're just going to get to the F1 where Daniel Ricciardo does an Australian shoey, and he'll drink from his racing boot
Oh, right.
if he wins.
Oh. Yeah.
Which is not pleasant after it's been on his foot for 2 hours in a hot, sweaty car.
That's horrible. Really. What if he's got verrucas? Yeah, exactly. We'll leave it at that. This is wrong.
We'll leave it at that. Let's move on. Question 5. Preferences with nightclubs, pubs, and restaurants in terms of going out and about, I suppose.
Okay, so in this order of preference, restaurant, followed by pub, and then a very distant third, nightclub, because actually right now I couldn't imagine going to a nightclub. I couldn't think of anything worse.
No. Whenever somebody says to me, I don't know, one of maybe the company, Christmas party or something like that, let's go to a club afterwards, I think that sounds like literally the worst idea anyone has ever come up with in the history of man.
I would rather drink champagne from somebody else's shoe.
Do a shrew.
A Wellington boot. I couldn't think of anything worse now. Clubbing.
When was the last time you went clubbing? Because I know when the last time I went.
1977, so I can't remember. No, it was 19... Was it 19? No, early 2000s.
Early 2000s? Okay, so sort of 20 years ago. So 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Yeah,
I
it
know
was on stag do. It's on stag do. That's right.
We did the stag do I've just done. We didn't go to a club. In Spain, we didn't go to a club.
You haven't missed out on anything, that's for sure.
No, I haven't. The last time I went to a club, from memory, was in second year of I didn't go in the final year of university to a club. It was in the third year. And when I was kind of here, actually, at the company, on my placement year. I've been around too long. I'm part of the dusty furniture these days. Emphasis on dusty. So yeah, I didn't go to a club in my final year. In my final year, the only time we went out drinking was for the summer ball. It's called the summer ball, but it's in a field. It's a festival in a field. So there's dodgems. There's, which is great when you're drunk, by the way.
Yeah,
dodgems
love it.
While you're drunk.
Dodgems,
best thing ever.
Agree.
Yeah.
Did it at the May Ball at uni? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because did you go to a seaside-based uni?
No. It was definitely landlocked.
Yeah, whereas I was in Bournemouth, so their summer ball was like full, kind of, how to call it.
That's thrown you. You got a message. You got a text from your mum saying, "Right, I'm going to have words with you when this podcast is over."
It's not. It's my PT is messaging me. Why is he messaging me? Anyway, he's great. He's absolutely fantastic. So because it's on the beach. So the Bournemouth University. I just said where I've gone to the university. Is fine.
Can bleep that out.
I'm not that bothered. You can find out pretty quickly what company we work for. We just don't like to mention it on the podcast, but I'm less worried about university. They do a summer ball, so you all end up in a field with the Dodgems, and we had I think we had Hugh Edwards from Radio 1 as headline for the stuff, but it was loads of tents. The year before they had they had some really cool band. I was like, I wanted to see them. Why don't we get them? But then what they do is they bus you back out to the centre of Bournemouth, and then you wander down to the beach, and they bring a load of official photographers, and you take the survivors photo at 6 a.m. as the sun is rising.
Excellent.
And I'm very pleased to say that I made it. Not only did I make it, we started drinking at 3 p.m. the day before. And then it's now 12 hours plus 3, so 15 hours that we'd been out. And I was dressed as Ned Flanders. So I had, the pink shirt, the green jumper, the proper brown slacks and brown shoes, and we'd painted ourselves yellow, and this was pre-beard for me. So I'd drawn a moustache on me, and we were all in our hands and our face yellow. So I went as Ned Flanders. Two of my mates came down, and they went as Mo and I think one of them was. So one of it went as Mo the barman, and the other one went as Dr. Nick. And then my other housemates went as Homer. Oh God, what was the other two? Oh, we were Simpsons characters anyway.
Fantastic, love it.
We looked really good actually. We were quite impressed with it.
I want to see a photo of that.
I'll have to dig one out.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the worst bit was then when you finish the survivors photo, it's yay, you're there. Right, now off you go. And you're like, crap, now I need to go back to the previous couple of ones, get a taxi back at 7 o'clock in the morning from the centre of Bournemouth, along with...
Dressed as Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders, Oakley dokley. And then when you get back to the flat, we've got, or the house. There was four of us sharing a house. Well, we had multiple bathrooms, but we only had one shower. So we had to take it in turns to shower off the body paint. And then that bath is probably still yellow. But going to my preferences on this one, just to say, I'm going to throw another one out there. I would quite happily do none of those if there's an opportunity to sit and have drinks at somebody's house. That I put above all of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. With you.
If somebody goes, we're getting 5 or 6 friends, we're all coming around, we're going to have some drinks, barbecue, or in the house.
I agree.
Eurovision, not Eurovision, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Fair enough.
That's above all of them, because I don't have to deal with the public.
I fully with you on that. By the way, you mentioned Eurovision, so I don't know why this sprang to mind, but I love this group. Have you heard of an Australian band called Voyager?
Yes, I think. Maybe.
One for tomorrow, a conversation tomorrow.
One for a conversation tomorrow. Eurovision was great this year because I did actually. I was around somebody's house. I wasn't drinking, unfortunately, because I was driving, but we were eating Chinese and watching.
That's
Eurovision,
perfect. That's perfect. I'll take that over. You're right. Take that over a restaurant, which would be my top choice. Yeah, any day.
And the only, after all the songs are played, you just stand there to mute while you had all the countries going, "Hello, Turin," and it's like, "Shut up, tell us the results. Get on with it. I ain't got time for you." That's the bit I can't stand, when they all want a piece of the action. Shut up and leave me alone. And we did well. We came second as well, and rightfully to Ukraine. So the best for me, the best result. Yeah. We won on the song. We were first after the song judges, and we were second after the public vote, which was, to me, full thumbs up. Not sarcastic.
Not so full thumb.
Full thumbs up. So yeah. Are you just detaching your thumb? I can't, I've never been able to do it, and I'm not going to try because my camera's at a little bit of a weird angle. Is that a fingernail?
Something like that.
Is it just the tip?
You're going to get into right trouble, you are.
I'm going to get into right trouble. My mum's going to listen to this and she'll be like, I did not raise you like this, stupid boy. Oh. Right, question 6, which is going to be the last one for our poignant questions because we've got some topical events which could extend our podcast for another 4 hours.
I need to get some sleep.
Yeah. So this one, paying for public bathrooms. Jerry's written a comment and he's just put in, going to have a major 1 hour and 37-minute rant on this. That's a very specific number. And my comment to this is that your official bladder capacity? 1 hour, 37 minutes? Is that what it is? Is that why you can only rant for that long?
Well, that's wishful thinking. Probably more like 37 minutes. It's more realistic. No, this.
Oh, dear.
I think it's a shocker because, you know, the to have the opportunity to be able to just use a toilet, that's like one of the most basic human needs, and to then have to go and pay to do that and go through the hassle of paying to do that is shocking. And in fact, you know, it's I had this experience when I went over on business. I went over to France and I desperately needed to go when I got to the station there, and had to queue up to pay and had to navigate all the screens and things for payment and things. And I had to pay by card. You know, that it's a shocker. You should just allow people to do something like that. I mean, we're not. I actually find it quite shocking. Why would why should you have to pay to pee?
So funny story from Barcelona. So on the Sunday we went to we're on a stag do. On the Sunday the first thing we did is we went down to the main shopping centre, which is just on the beach. And this is a good tip for anyone that goes. So we got there, and it's been about an hour and a half now, and there aren't enough public bathrooms. Well, there are none. There are basically none in Barcelona, is what I've learnt. There aren't even any bathrooms in the metro station, just as an FYI for anyone that wants to go. There are none. I can attest to this. There's a other story as well on the end of this, which I can tell. But the first kind of so we got to the shopping centre and we found the bathrooms and they were paid, and it was something ridiculous, like €1 as well. It was a lot more than I thought it would be. Not like 50 cents here. It was a full euro, full fat euro. Anyway, we got there and we kind of looking at it going, look, should kind of use it because we know that we're going to wander on in a bit afterwards. Anyway, so we're on the ground floor. So one of the people goes, sod it, I'm going to go, and I'm thinking no, I'm going to wait because it's not don't need to go and should just go just because. But anyway, so he goes and we wait for him. He comes back. Anyway, then we go upstairs. We can't find a cafe to get what we want, so we go upstairs. And we go upstairs once, and and we look around, and it's on the first floor, and it's a building site pretty much. It's almost like they forgot to build this section. There's no shops. There's nothing. That's a bit weird. But there's another level up. Okay, so we go up another level, and that level's been finished. That level's complete. There's shops and everything like that. And you're a bit like, did they just miss out the middle? Why did they miss out? Yeah, completely random. Anyway, as we're wandering around trying to find a cafe, I see another set of bathrooms, and we poke our head in, non-paid. So the other 7 of us all go in, and the one of us that had gone in, he was fuming. He was like, I've just paid €1, and all I had to do was walk up 2 flights of sodding stairs. What's amusing is he's a fitness fanatic, so it's not like it's arduous for him. So tip number 1 is go up a couple of flights of floors to find a bathroom that does it. The other bit then is he got then fobbed off again because we found a cafe, the first one. And it was really expensive for some strange reason on this floor, really expensive. Anyway, he went and got a coffee from it, and the rest of us were like, "It's a bit steep. We want some food." So we then travelled down 3 flights of stairs, so we're almost below the first floor, but because of the shape of the land, we're actually back at the ground floor, but lower. It's like into the basement if you were in the building, but it's, we'd have to walk up a hill to get back up to the thing. Wander around the side, another 3 other cafes, and all half the price. So he's like, I've just been fobbed off with the bathroom, and now I've been fobbed up with the cafe, and it's like, what is going on?
He had a shocker, didn't he? Absolute
He had a
shocker.
Absolute shocker on that one. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, I just didn't. The bit that got me is I didn't understand why the ground floor bathroom was paid and the second floor bathroom was not.
And the floor in between is just like a building site.
Had nothing.
How random is that?
Well, I say building site. It wasn't a building site. It just had, like, everything was empty. There was no shop. There was no shops. It was just a ghost town.
It's weird.
Made no sense. Very confusing.
Okay.
But yeah. And then I can go into the other story. So let's just say, at the end of that Sunday, on the beach, the cubicle bathrooms, they aren't split male and female, and there aren't exactly like 20 of them. There are 3 like every kilometer. So the queue for them when it's 28 degrees sorry, on Barcelona beach was constantly 12 deep. It's like, so they're not paid, but there just aren't any. So it's like, so it's a queue for like 20 minutes each one. Madness. So, yeah.
So your best bet is just to go into the sea and pee and come back out again.
I'm assuming that's what they imagine most people do. You had to be careful because the sea in Barcelona was like ankle deep, chest deep. There was no in between. It was like you stepped off a shelf and you just suddenly went...
The abyss.
Like, oh. Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
You didn't have time for it to for certain parts of the anatomy to get used to it. The water just came up to your chest.
I get nervous about it. You know my feelings on deep water and being out of my depth. So I'm going to try not to think about that.
That's terrible. Yeah, that's so bad. Oh man. Right. Should we go on to our topical questions?
Let's do it.
I think this could be 3 sets of ranting. We'll try and keep this to a little bit to minimum time, or a decent time of some description, because it is a school night. But we've got to discuss these topical events. I think it's something I've wanted to do on the podcast, is to try and get more topical events, more things that get conversation flowing and have difference of opinion and be derisive to a certain extent, but also sometimes to just highlight how dumb the world is.
Yeah,
I think is what I want. So there are 3 on here, and I think all 3 are probably going to invoke a Jerry rant. So I might just sit back in a minute and just let him go.
No, well, I think we'll both rant on them, but
yeah. Number 2, I think, is all yours.
Yeah.
Got to keep the swearing to a minimum. We'll go on to the first one. So the first one is we're going to discuss the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp kind of debacle now. I don't even know where you want to start. It's at the time of us recording this, it's its final and 6th week. I think it's
Something
just entered.
like that.
The memes from it, by the way, just
hilarious.
to say, it's like some of the videos. My dog stepped on a bee, and some of the stuff. I mean, Johnny Depp's lawyers need like medals. Some of the stuff, or what is it? Objection hearsay. If I hear objection hearsay again, it's just. But it was your own question. Oh yeah, but objection hearsay.
What?
And I'll start neutral. Regardless of which way round this is, it's been an absolute farce and has just dragged a few people through the mud that probably shouldn't have. And that's my only neutral bit. But Jerry, I'll let you. I'll let you go.
Well,
first.
I don't know where to start with this, so we have to address the elephant-shaped poo in the bed.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, the bit.
I mean, Amber Turd. So just the fact that we managed to coin the name Amber Turd from this whole thing is just where do you start with this? It's not even about a rant. It's so bizarre. I don't actually even know what to say about it, apart from that there's an interesting point for me in all of this, and I thought, we're having a laugh and the memes are hilarious, but I was watching snippets of the trial and I was thinking, this is interesting. So you've got one of the world's. It doesn't matter how whether you rate them as an actor or actress. They are top of their profession, right? So they are where they are because, for they're successful. For every Amber Heard, you've got tens of thousands of actresses that haven't made it in film, so they haven't made it to that level. So she's a good actress, right? She's a professional.
She's good enough to, whether you rate her after this,
whether you rate her or not after, it doesn't matter. But she's a professional actress. She's a professional actor. They're in a courtroom situation, so their job is to act in such a way that you're convinced that you're watching real life.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're on trial, and you've got a judge and a jury that have to try and filter out. Well, hang about. Is this real? Are these real tears? Is this just acting? I don't know what's real. I don't know what isn't anymore. So how do you determine what are facts in a case? It's ridiculous.
It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a bit that fascinated me about this.
And I mean, regardless of what you think of Amber Heard, and I mean, she's made some real questionable movies.
Unlike, I forgot his
Johnny
name.
Johnny Depp's made.
I'm thinking of who's. Oh my God! It's gone right out of my head.
What, the actor that I hate?
Yes. What's his name?
Oh, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Unlike Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Amber Heard is, for me, is on the same level as Nicolas Cage.
Not far off.
Namely, because she's made movies with him. Like Drive Angry is a truly awful film, and they're both dreadful. You aren't missing anything. It's on a par with Ghost Rider.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Oof. But she wasn't terrible in Aquaman. She's not, but if you then compare the performance, if we're purely on an acting level, if you compare some of Johnny Depp's his complete improv section on Pirates of the Caribbean is some of the most genius things.
Yeah,
there's loads of quotes from Pirates of the Caribbean that I want to use, like, "Did everyone see that? Because I will not be doing that again." Or, "I've got a jar of dirt. I've got a jar of dirt," which entirely improved. So he's got, again, they've got some prowess. I think for me, the bit that kind of destroys Amber Heard's case is she is trying to act to win the jury, whereas Johnny Depp is being Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And the memes, while laughable, in some cases you're like, what is this defense that Amber Heard's lawyers have come up with? getting a person to testify that Johnny Depp is narcissistic based purely on his performance as Captain Jack Sparrow. What? He's playing a person that is inherently narcissistic. And then when asked, did you see his performance as Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, he goes, no. And you just think, are you trying to be stupid? Like, it's so fundamentally idiotic. The one that got me today was, the other bit about that narcissism was, he said Johnny Depp was narcissistic because he was eating sweets, or they said candy because it's America, eating sweets in the courtroom. So what does Johnny Depp's lawyers do? They bring in a bowl of sweets and they sit there eating them, but then in the second half of the cross-examination. Does that? It's absolutely ludicrous. Some of the stuff. Now, if I then switch from my non-neutral, it's very frustrating that this has been dragged out. From my opinion and looking at it, it looks like Johnny Depp is the more innocent party. I'm not saying he's innocent. He's clearly had some troubles with alcoholism and drugs and, drug abuse.
Just more like less guilty then.
Yeah, less guilty. Yeah. And, no doubt they probably had some kind of arguments, and sometimes what happens in closed doors happens in closed doors. However, I'm not quite sure what Amber Heard is trying to do, because she has a history of domestic violence, and there are audio recordings of her saying things to that. I'm like, this exists. Are you an idiot? And then we just go into the Amber Heard situation, which I just think is so funny and so ridiculous that you just think, whatever possesses a human being to do that?
I struggle to. Yeah, you got to question the sanity of sort of Amber Heard, for example, taking this to where it's gone to, because it has effectively just destroyed her career. I just don't know how you can pull anything back off the back of this. Yeah. Who's going to hire you for a film? It's that's it now. That's going to be the legacy. It's just going to be this court case. It's a bit mad, isn't it?
Yeah, this could have been settled. They could have not done a court case.
Yeah.
She could have paid him the 50 million or whatever it is that he wanted for defamity on after that article, and none of this would have had to be exposed. But there's because at the rate she's going to lose the court case and then never be able to get a job again.
Yeah, I think she's already at that point.
Well,
haven't they pulled something?
Hollywood's weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. That's yes. Don't get me started on that. It's a whole separate topic.
We covered it briefly in our bonus podcast.
We did.
With Will Smith.
Yeah.
He's likely still going to get roles because he's Will Smith.
Yeah, even though he physically assaulted somebody on stage.
Yeah, and it's the standards thing, isn't it? But it also does bring to light the other bit that I'm quite passionate about. In that, and I made a mistake a little bit over it as well. The whole kind of just human kindness to each other, in terms of, if you've got someone toxic in your life, don't hang around and have an argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Get rid of them. Pull that Band-Aid off. I mean, I've done not horrible things, but I've got rid of people that I've realised are toxic in my life, and it's hurt them. And I apologise to those people that I've done that. But longer term, it's probably way better, because we aren't
for both
out
parties
with each other. With both parties, longer term.
Yeah.
But also then you go into like domestic violence and this whole kind of unconscious bias around, well, Johnny Depp's the male, so clearly he's the one that's hitting the female, and there's two sides. There's always two sides to it. But also, what Amber Heard is doing, if she is. And I'm not saying she is or isn't on this side, but if she's making that up, she's, in my opinion, she is then kind of, I can't think of the phrase, but ruining or,
she's dangerous.
Putting to light any woman that is in a domestic violence situation.
Agree.
Because suddenly the males are going to be like, well, Johnny Depp's kind of, it's terrible. It's such a farce, and it's such a. I don't think they realise the impact between these two parties that it's going to have on the wider audience than just themselves.
Yeah, agree.
So I think they finished by the time this podcast comes out.
Okay.
Because I think it's the end of this week, and the podcast comes out next week on the 1st.
So next podcast we'll just very briefly come back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth. I think I've already put in a couple of additional topical stuff for next time as well, which I figured out this afternoon. So, again, us planning the next podcast on the podcast.
This is how we roll.
So our next topical thing to come on to, which I'm just going to let Jerry just go. Elon Musk buying Twitter.
I can't even go. I can't even go off on a rant about this guy. You know how I feel about him. He just needs to be stopped. He just needs to stop. He needs to stop doing everything that he's doing. He's just. I think it. What is the point? What is he buying Twitter for? I don't get this. I don't.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I can't even go off on a rant about it because I don't know what to say about this guy anymore. I'm sick and tired of the amount of airtime he gets. I'm sick and tired of seeing him everywhere. He's easy. Was it news fodder, isn't he? But what's he trying to achieve by buying Twitter? I don't get it.
I mean,
And it's random. It's just come out of the blue. Why Twitter? What? What's it?
So interestingly, right? So Twitter is the most toxic social network by far.
What, more so than Facebook?
Yes, because Facebook, you're limited to your friends and family, generally.
Oh,
which means that all the toxicity is just, friends and family.
Yeah.
Whereas Twitter, if you're famous, the toxicity levels, if you have an opinion on anything, someone on Twitter will tell you you're wrong. And they won't just tell you you're wrong. They'll tell you you're wrong and they'll go, I'm gonna shag your mum. Right? That's what they'll tell you. Something along those lines. Because that is the level of maturity on Twitter. It is an awful platform. I do have Twitter purely because my Instagram is friends and family. My Facebook I avoid like the plague because it makes me hate my friends and family. And LinkedIn is professional. Now Twitter I purely use to follow things that are social. So I get all my F1 news from Twitter basically because I'm a massive F1 fan. So I follow all the F1 stuff and a few F1 drivers because that's what I do. I don't click in because, you have an opinion on, if I take F1 for example, if I turn around and say, I think Lewis Hamilton's great, there'll be 30 people on Twitter that will say, yes, you're right, and he's the greatest of all time. And I'll have 30 people that tell me that I'm wrong and that I need to go and unalive myself because I've got that opinion. That's the level of Twitter. Twitter's an awful thing. However, the reason why Elon Musk is buying Twitter is because he believes it's too censored. Now, he's an idiot, basically, because the things that he wants uncensored is the fact that he can't tweet racist, homophobic, and transphobic stuff because that's what he does. And also because he felt that I've got to get this right way, the Republicans were unfairly censored than Democrats. Yet the Republicans are the ones that are going in on things like anti-vax, anti-abortion, which to me...
Jewish space lasers are some of the nonsense they've come out with.
Yeah, exactly.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's an absolute fruitcake.
Some of the opinions that they've got, you just think... There are points where I sort of go, you can't have an opinion on that because that's just a fact. You can't tell me that the water is pink, right? You can't go, it's my opinion that it's pink. That's not a thing. There's a fact.
Yeah, it's a serious thing about people who deny the Holocaust that happened.
Yes.
Holocaust deniers. I mean, that you shouldn't be allowed, really. I mean, there is a point, isn't there? There's a fine line when it comes to freedom of speech, but to be able to say stuff, to have the right to be able to say something like that, which I think, but to say something, you lose your right to free speech if you're going to say something as stupid and inflammatory as that.
The instant that for me, the instant you violate someone else's human rights by denying something that makes them a human, you lose your human rights, which includes your freedom of speech, in that you have broken someone else's. If your freedom of speech prevents somebody else's freedom of speech or human rights being, you can't express that opinion. And that is written into certain places. So interesting, the weirdest example I know is the Swedish one, right? Bear with me for this, but in Sweden they have the right to free speech, and it is a protected constitutional right. It's written in their constitution that they can have free speech, FS, which is a category which within that there is a category called FP, freedom of the press. So that the press are allowed to express their opinion within certain articles. It's not allowed to be a homepage or anything like that. They get that. But there is also the protection of like that constitutional right, there are still rules and regulations. So some of the examples, and these are quite extreme, is you can't the press can't post child pornography for obvious reasons, right? And it's things like, if you had an opinion on Twitter, and this is going very extreme, and it's probably quite not dark, but it's quite strong. But if you had an opinion on Twitter that was paedophilia is a fetish, not an incorrect thing, there is a point where you kind of have to go, no, that breaks constitutional law, and that opinion is beyond freedom of free speech. You're now just doing hate. And there are loads of things like, you can't say racist things, you can't say that. Now, people like Ricky Gervais will make transphobic jokes. His most recent thing has, and I'm sort of like, you can't do that. Like, there's a line, I think, now that you can't cross. And people go, oh, it's just killing comedy. And I'm like, no, if you can't be funny on something that's without being offensive, you're not a very good comedian. And I say this as someone that I think I'm reasonably funny. I can be reasonably funny. I tell a good story, but I can do it without being offensive. At least I think I can anyway. If somebody finds me offensive, and there is a difference between being offensive, breaking something like transphobic, saying something transphobic, saying something racist and things like that, and there's also taking offense. I've made a joke. I don't know. We've made a joke about Amber Turd. If somebody takes offense to that, that's difference. I'm still expressing my right to free speech. So it's a grey area, but coming back to the way that Elon wants it, is he wants to uncensor those things. He wants to make it like free for all, which, based upon the toxicity of 99%, of a minority of the human race, would be a terrible idea.
I agree. I think we've got well said, Dom. And with that freedom comes responsibility. And I think you can't just give people freedom to do what they want to do if they're not going to be responsible with that freedom. That for me is that's the caveat. And I think in the day and age that we're in now, people can't be. I just don't think you can trust anybody. You open up a platform for real free speech and things, and it'll just be abused. People will just come out with all sorts of nonsense. You don't know what's going through people's minds. Saying something just to stir hate, just to get a reaction, just to cause problems. It's not worth it, because no one's going to use the platform responsibly. They don't anyway today. So to just open up that door even more is just a dangerous thing. And I think this is part of the problem. Is actually you know what? If you want to make this world a better place, you're actually better off shutting these platforms down. Really, I think because what purpose is it serving? Right? It's doing more harm than good, I think.
Yeah, I half agree. I disagree, but there's an alternative. The problem with the internet, and this podcast is we're not like it because we're very open on who we are. Hey, I'm Dom. I exist here. This is who I am. I'm expressing my opinion. And you'll notice that a lot of the things I've kind of gone, this is my opinion, so nobody can take it out of context in terms of like, oh, you're saying this and represented something else. And it's also why we put in at the beginning of this podcast, everything said in this podcast represents our opinions and not anybody else's. And I got bitten the other day by it, and I said, I did express it as my opinion. I was wrong, but that's for a different reason. The interesting bit, I don't think you can shut down social medias. The bit that you need to do is you need to get rid of an anonymity. People aren't responsible for it. For these people. So, for example, if we take the World Cup, where I can't remember all of them, but one of them was Rashford, missed the penalty, and they were subjected to horrific racial abuse afterwards.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
Because the people that were writing it were anonymous. You don't know who they are. But you suddenly have a platform where when you sign up, you have to give form of identification which states your address, or and it's held under GDPR, which means that if somebody reports you for racist language and it gets as far as the police go, I'm actually going to investigate that. All they have to do is go, can I have the record for that person? Oh look, they're here. Right, you, £10,000 fine, or whatever. 6 months suspended prison sentence. Those types of things. As soon as you start, so this is where I sit in society, and this might go into a little bit of a rant. So apologies if I take over a bit from you, Jerry.
No, this is good. This is great.
I always like the phrase "killing with kindness," and I try and live by that in terms of like, not necessarily give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm allowed to feel angry if somebody cuts me off in traffic and does something dumb while driving. If I'm in my car on my own, yes, I'm allowed to call him a blithering idiot or whatever, or something worse along those lines. I'm allowed to feel angry. That's something like that. But what I'm not allowed to enact is to, come alongside him, pull him out of his car and beat him to shreds, no matter how much I'd like to do that. I'm not going to enact on my impulses. You kill him with kindness. If it was an accident, even if they're 100% in their fault and they've done something stupid, you don't know what their day's gone. You don't know whether they're tired. You don't know whether they've been up all night with a sick child, etc. You can't make that assumption, which is why kindness should always come first. You can deal with that. They've made a mistake, and they are accountable for those actions. There are certain points where I sort of flick. I go from 100% kindness to 100% you're done. Right, and there are like lines where I go, and when I say you're done as a human, right? You should be in jail, keys switched away. So there's certain things like, if it was proven that somebody was a paedophile or whatever, and they had molested a child or whatever, bit deep, right? This shouldn't be like a 6-year suspended sentence. This is, you are in a hole, you're locked away, that's it, you're done. You have violated something that is beyond human rights, and therefore you lose yours. End of conversation, goodbye. That's not a mistake, that's a thing. And there's other things like first-degree murder, like intentional homicide, that I feel also crosses that line. Terrorism, things like that I go from, okay, I've tried to be kind, you have violated somebody else's human rights beyond all recognition, you're done. And, you shouldn't, this whole nicety treatment, that's it. I couldn't care less whether you rot in the jail and die within 6 weeks, or whether you're slowly tortured. There are a few people like that I think are in that boat. Vladimir Putin at the moment is a big candidate of mine for me to sort of say, no, like you don't deserve the kindness from anybody anymore. You can't say it's a mistake. You're done. And like some people may see it, this is where I get my kind of like 1 + 1 is 2 kind of vibes, where I'm oblivious to anything that's outside, but I tend to see things in a bit black and white. But that's kind of the approach that I take, and that's why I think in terms of like Twitter and elements like that, it's accountability and responsibility that needs to be enveloped into this. And don't get me wrong, I'm so far from perfect, it's unbelievable, right? I would be one of the first to say that I'm a terrible person at times. I'm selfish, I'm judgmental, but it's my thoughts are not always my actions, and I try to make sure that my actions are right. I still get it wrong. I still 100% get it wrong. Laura can attest to this. I got it very wrong this week. So wrong with Laura. And I apologised in message, and I'm going to apologise on the podcast. So when she listens to this, she knows I'm really sorry for the discussion that we had earlier this week. But the point being is that I'm trying to make amends because I've made a mistake, and I'm being held accountable to my actions. I made a mistake. She called me out on it. I'm being held accountable for it. It's the same thing at work. If I make a mistake at work, I make the wrong decision, I should be held accountable for it. That is regardless of where you are in the org structure, by the way. We could have a rant, and that's probably a discussion for us about, the accountability that's held at sort of more senior positions when you get into politics. It's that accountability, and I think Elon Musk taking over Twitter, all that's going to do is remove all accountability for people. If I don't mind if you uncensor things, But if you're not going to hold people accountable, like we're not holding Donald Trump accountable for causing the Capitol riots, it's wrong. That's where my line kind of goes. You're done. You're done. That was a bit of... I mean, so if we take it for something really topical... Sorry, really
Nice,
topical,
good.
which I wanted to speak about in the next one. But if we take the recent shootings in America... Horrific, by the way. Americans, what are you doing with your lives on this gun control? But I had a thought. If they don't want to get rid of having the right to bear arms as part of their constitution, fine. But if you sold a gun to somebody and they used that gun to murder somebody, you as the seller are accountable for some of that. That would instantly change everybody's things. You would be accountable if you sold a gun to somebody. So if you sold a gun to a 17-year-old and then they went and shot up the school, you as the seller are going to be held somewhat accountable for providing arms to that person. You would change it very quick if that was suddenly a thing. It's all about accountability for your actions. And I'm going to stop ranting now.
No, Dom, that's absolutely brilliant. I really don't have much to add to that because I completely agree. I think that this is part of the problem. I think the accountability issue is the one that makes my blood boil. I'll come back to something that you said, which is true. Around politicians, for example. But yeah, what's happened in the States just in the last... Literally, the last 2-3 weeks? It's
Yesterday.
So that was a recent one, but then you had the Buffalo shootings.
Yeah, there's been 3.
There's been 3 in short succession. Have they lost the plot? Why, if I was a gun shop owner, why would I sell an assault AR-15 assault rifle to an 18-year-old with 300 rounds of ammunition? I'd have to say to this, where's the due diligence? Where's the scrutiny in terms of why do you want this? You're only 18. You can't even drink in the States until you're 21, but you've got a right to buy an assault rifle at the age of 18. Supermarkets sell weapons, sell guns in the States. What the hell?
Can't buy Kinder eggs.
Right.
Can't buy Kinder eggs.
What the hell?
They're illegal.
And it's no good. There are people, the lobbyists that say no, this is part of the Constitution. It's the right to bear arms. Yeah, do you know what? You've got to take a long, hard look at yourself, and take a look at yourself as a nation to allow stuff like this to happen. I mean, you're never going to be able to completely eradicate it, right? In every country around the world, you're always going to get that one rogue, but they make it so easy for these people in the States to just go and commit these things. It's happening on a weekly basis, and they're not doing anything about gun control. I just find it bizarre, so people can stay in power.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there is elements where it's not just about gun control, because they make it very easy. So because America's not a first world country, in my opinion, right? Because their educational system is very broken. The third topical event, which we'll go on to in a second, is so broken, it's unbelievable. And their healthcare and things like that, and people can't physically live. I don't think all broken.
Yeah, I don't think there is such a thing as a first world country anymore. I don't think you can call the UK. Yeah, you can call.
No, there are in certain aspects at the moment. I mean, we're not American level. I will say that, but there are certain aspects where we're poor. But my bigger point around that is you allow, because that's broken, you're forcing more people to be in this bad state. And then obviously statistically then you're going to have more people that are going to want to enact on their bad intentions, which the normal human being doesn't. But then also with the lack of gun controls, it's then very easy to
just
so for me, if I wanted... Yeah, for me to go and shoot, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, wouldn't even know where, and the amount of checks and things like that, and the police would have to come and visit and things like that. It just isn't possible. So, we kind of gone a bit off. You said you wanted to come back to politicians.
No, the whole thing, with Trump, and I think this is where, I think this is where things start. You've got to take a look at, like it or not, in every system, there is a hierarchy, and when you take a look at politics, take a look at what politicians do, what they get away with, what senior people with a lot of power and money and influence do and get away with. Will Smith, what he got away with, right? Trump incited the January 6th riots and got away with it. I mean, it's what, 18 months now down the line and still nothing. Yeah. It's just all complete bluster about.
It's a travesty.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they're not going to do anything about it. And before you know it, he'll probably be back on the election trail
running
again.
For presidency.
Yeah. You think of everything that happens in this country, decisions that are made, within politics, and it's all driven by money, driven by greed. We don't live in a democracy; it's a joke. So when you say about, that America's not a first world country, well, actually, if you take a look at the definition of a first world country, if you take a look at the levels of poverty and inequality and inequity in the UK, in the US, in the so-called developed countries, and take a look at the way that the system is technically broken. Yeah, it's a farce. It's a joke. Yeah,
it's not hilarious, but it's just
it's sad. It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic. And I've got a daughter that's I don't know what'll happen in her lifetime and how the world will evolve and how things will pan out. But all I can say is, I personally haven't really seen anything that's happened, that's evolved, that's developed over the last, let's say, 2 decades, that's given me any hope. It's just increasingly dark. It gets darker and more bizarre as the years go on.
We're probably due for another recession, so another price crash. We've had a pandemic, we've had multiple terrorist events. Events that happen in America almost feel like daily these days. Yeah. The glorification of Hollywood at the moment with the Will Smith, Amber Heard, and who's next? Who's next in terms of that? And then Elon Musk taking over Twitter and just being generally a terrible person. And the thing is, not even that a good businessman, because people go, oh yeah, he's built his wealth. No, he hasn't. He got $1 million loan from his dad to start off this company.
And same with Trump.
And you go and look at, and Trump is actually on a loss if you actually look at the amount of money he's borrowed in comparison to the amount of money he's made. Not actually that good of a businessman. There aren't that many kind of zero to hero entrepreneurs these days because you can't get started in that world. And I'm, we're very fortunate that, at the moment with the current inflation rises, I'm not worried in terms of money. I am a bit like, I've just got to a stage where I'm earning quite a decent amount, but it's not going to mean much soon because inflation is going to probably catch up relatively quickly, even to the pay rise that I've had recently. And there are people that are going to struggle because they've not had pay rises. It's the world is a frustrating place. It is. And we'll go into almost the worst topic on this bit, which is the Roe versus Wade, which for those that don't know is essentially the American, is it High Court, want to basically overturn
Supreme Court
women's right to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Was it Supreme Court?
Yeah.
That's it, Supreme Court. Wanted to overturn the rights for women to have an abortion. I've got one phrase for that. You bunch of old boomers, will you get off your high horse? You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and you have no right to decide. Absolutely zero right.
And is it overturning a court decision that was made back in, is it the 70s? 73, I think.
Yeah, so it was a court decision that grants the right for women to have abortions in America. They want to overturn it so that you can't have abortions in America. So basically the entire of America becomes like Texas, which is a terrible state, with the worst gun crime and things like that. And my point to this, to anyone that thinks that people shouldn't be allowed to make a decision with their own body, you're just wrong to start with. But also, even if you're pro-life and you think abortion's a terrible thing, that's fine. You follow that life. You have no right to enact it on anyone else. Absolutely no right. Everybody should have the right to make that choice. By turning over this thing, what they're essentially doing is basically saying everyone should conform to me. Whereas if it's kept open, people can make a choice. And that to me, that is unconstitutional and that is undemocratic. Taking away someone's choice is undemocratic. And in the Swedish one, it is actually illegal to do
so
that.
it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we're finding actually that in response to things that are happening, or if you take a look at just things and how things are naturally evolving, we are going towards a state of more control, centralized control. So, rightly or wrongly, and I know this is a really controversial topic, but should the COVID vaccine be mandatory? Should you, for example, be restricted to what you can do and have freedoms taken away from you, essentially, because you've decided that you don't want to have a vaccine in your body, you're not comfortable about that vaccine. You take a look at what happened with Djokovic, and right, this is, and there's a line that has to be drawn somewhere. But we've right, and I get that, but we are definitely edging more towards a dangerous world, whereby if people relinquish their rights to be able to control what they do with their own bodies, what they put into their bodies, what they can eat, freedom of movement, freedom of travel, freedom of speech, again, and there are lines. Of course there are lines, and I get that.
There are lines,
but still. But if you start encroaching on those things, then we are going down a very, very dark path.
The vaccine one is interesting because that one's probably the biggest grey area for me. Because at what point do you say the choice that you're making is harming human beings? It's like saying to somebody, you have a choice to not stab that person or stab that person. And if they make a choice to stab that person, the police are allowed to get involved to prevent or deal with the consequences afterwards. And to me, kind of the vaccine bit is kind of in that grey area, because by you not getting the vaccine, you are potentially putting others at risk, which is why I kind of can see why I don't think it should be made mandatory. But in terms of freedoms being taken away, you're going, you're a health risk. We really want you to get the vaccine. It's safe, trust us. But also, we can't risk all these other people. So I'm really sorry you can't do that. And it's a grey area.
It is a grey area.
And I recognise that my opinion there is probably controversial / not maybe correct. I think it's probably less so now because of its evolution. The abortion one, though, that to me is it's not, you having a choice to have an abortion is not harming another human being, because you get abortions for all kinds of reasons, whether that's unwanted, which is just a child bringing into an unwanted family is actually probably more detrimental than having the termination.
What if somebody's raped? And this is right.
Yeah,
so this
raped, miscarriage. Apparently, you can't, even with if this law was overturned and you have a miscarriage, the person that's had the miscarriage, the same drugs are required in a termination as is to get rid of a miscarriage. And carrying around a miscarriage, you're effectively carrying around a thing that's dead inside of you. That just breeds diseases and things like that. So you're actually causing yourself risk by not being able to have that abortion.
Yeah, I just find it's interesting state of a country whereby they're reluctant to do anything about gun laws.
Yeah.
Right. To protect. But then they're doing, they want to overturn something here for what, on the basis of what, protecting a life? I just
the politicians within America, and I'm not gonna side with the Democrats or the Republicans, or people in America seemed more obsessed with protecting fetuses than they are actual living children at the moment. That's the current impression that you get from if you watch the news or you follow the events that happen in America. They are more concerned with fetuses than they are actual children, and that makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. I apologise, it's my first swear word, but that makes absolutely no sense. Do not how they've managed to come to any sort of conclusion around that at all. What? What? It's madness. It's absolute madness, and I'm so. You can understand why. Okay, we're slightly different generations. So for yourself, Jerry, you're like, what the heck world is my daughter going to be in? You know, as she goes through adulthood. You know, for me, again, I can perhaps sort of the generation in between. It's like, what the heck am I going to go through? You know, I already go there. I'm 30 years old, and I've been through several. You know, I've been through a pandemic and a crisis and terrorist events, and this happened and that happened, and you know, I do sit there and think, oh dear Jesus, what have I got to do next? What's next?
This is a bit that genuinely scares me. The whole thing about climate change, it scares me.
Yeah. It's madness. It's madness. I think. I mean, those topical events, we've just kind of touched on a lot of opinions. I suspect that some of those are a bit more controversial to you listeners and watchers.
And these are just our opinions, aren't they? Yeah, that's what we've got to make clear. This is just our opinion, and there's
this is our opinion.
Thousands of different views.
And some of them I feel, you know, I admit some of these opinions I feel very strongly about. There are, you know, and I think I've used a phrase before where myself and Jerry are within the company are at a reasonable hierarchy level, right? And sometimes I see stuff happen, and you think, why have they made that decision? Right? We ask a lot of why questions, and we don't often get the why answers. I often come across and go, I couldn't make that decision because I'm too logical. It makes no sense to me. I couldn't make a decision from that I couldn't ever come to that conclusion. So a lot of these opinions to me might not resonate with other people because I just go down the real logic route. And some people just don't think like that. So yeah, it's 100% my opinion. And Jerry, on everything I've said when I've had my 2 rants now, Jerry, it's you know, feel free to distance yourself from my opinions when you.
I'm just pondering. Really, I think these are all such complex issues, and I do appreciate that you know, I think you and I agree on pretty much everything, but we could get somebody on this podcast that would say, oh, okay, well, hold up a minute, you know, you got to look at it through this lens, and you know, and I'm open to all views, because I think. You know, there's a lot that I don't know. There's more that I don't know than I do know. But if you take things at face value based on what we're reading, and you know, one would argue actually, and I think this is one for a separate topic. But you know, is actual exposure to news and is media, is it healthy? So is knowing more now healthy? I would argue that in terms of mental health, probably not. Definitely not.
I mean, I can attest. I know that it's not. So, my manager, I won't mention her name, but you know who she is, Jerry. She switched off all social media and all news when she went on holiday. Apparently, her heart rate dropped 12 beats per minute on average over the week.
They're saying you should detox. They're actually, some people are saying, so mental health advisors are saying you should just make a conscious effort not to watch the news. Don't, just don't indulge in social media. Just if you switch off from it, actually, what it does is it gives your mind and gives yourself, your mental state, an opportunity to just, to get to a better place.
Yeah. I'd love to get rid of it. I think if it weren't for the fact that I keep posting the podcast clips on our Instagram, please go follow us, Instagram/distinctive Jovial. And I mean, it's just extracts from the podcast. If I didn't post them, I probably could have deleted the app, actually. Well, no, Laura sends me dog videos, so at least I got my serotonin boost from that. So shout out to Laura there.
Fair play.
You have Larry and Belle, so you get that all the time.
They're legends. They can be a pain sometimes, but they're legends. Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what we need. We need just daily. We need daily Larry pictures in the groups that we're part of.
I'm happy to provide that. And Belle. Yeah.
Yes. Last quick bit then, I think that we'll just to wrap up the podcast, just a kind of a quick discussion, which is fun. So improving our health. We decided to jump onto Duolingo and attempt to learn Ukrainian. Holy moly, folks! I know some Ukrainians listen to this based on the fact that I talked to them. My God, your language is difficult. Or at least I think the way to do it is how you learn English. And another thing I do not know. I'm a bit of a stickler to try and understand the grammar. I can't get it in my head. I've not done enough of it. I've not quite been too consistent recently, but oh God, it's so difficult.
One thing that just struck me is obviously the languages that I've more familiar with, or at least attempted to speak, are kind of Latin based, and then all of a sudden you've got exposure to a language which isn't Latin based, and I'm crap at learning languages anyway, which really upsets me, because I really wish I had a talent for learning languages. So it's really envious of people that can say, "Oh, I can speak fluent French and Italian and Spanish," and what?
Yes.
So,
which makes me want to take my hat off even more to every Ukrainian that I know, because then they're quite often fluent in Ukrainian, they're fluent in Russian, and they're fluent in English, and you just think, how you are just built different, and I do not know how. It's just incredible.
Belgians, for example, tend to speak, and Swiss will tend to speak French, English, German, for example, fluently.
Flemish.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the whole thing around being capable at languages is it's incredible for me that people have that ability. So I tried and failed miserably, by the way.
I'm still going on it. So I mean, at the moment I'm doing. So I have 3 languages on my Duolingo at the moment, and I try and do a little bit each day of each one. So I've got German, Spanish, and Ukrainian. For obvious reasons, I was trying to get the Spanish in before I went to Barcelona. And to be fair, Spanish is statistically the easiest language to learn after English if you're going to learn a foreign language. Spanish-speaking people, you're great, because your language, all your letters always sound the same, no matter how they're put. And they just have one extra letter, which is the enya, which is the N with a hat on it. No, it's a squiggly line. It's a tilde. And it's all said the same, and the grammar is quite easy. It's similar to French in that generally the descriptive word comes after the noun rather than before. So you don't say blue hat, you say hat blue, for example. And once you get over those, generally the language is fairly easy. French I find was a little bit difficult because they like to just put silent letters everywhere because, reasons. German is a little bit more complicated from what I've learned, but so far I kind of can get it. But I wouldn't say I'm conversationalist. I've got enough to kind of go, hello, help, I'm an idiot. Help this poor Englishman. That's kind of what I need. And so my German trip in a few weeks is going to be interesting. But Ukrainian,
yeah, that was. So I'm gonna attempt Привет, Yakti. Menazvati Jerry.
So you're a lot further than I am, but I don't know what the first bit, but the second bit I think was my name is Jerry.
Yeah. So hello, how
What
are
was
you?
the first? Okay.
My name is Jerry. So probably got Ukrainians listening to this going, oh, what on earth was that? But, and I apologise.
Yeah,
but that's the only thing I could even get close to saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still I was just trying to go through the letters because obviously it starts with A, which is pronounced A, and then there's like a lowercase. Well, it's not a B. It's a. How many letters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 times 8, 8, 16. So there's 32 letters in the Ukrainian alphabet, and there are special signs as well. And yeah, it's. I really want to get good, to kind of get better at it. I want to do some more. I've always said, like, I travel the world with like taekwondo. I've always wanted to learn Dutch so that when I go over to the Netherlands, I can just speak Dutch to all the great folks out in the Netherlands. Or I'd love to be able to speak German so that when I go and visit my friend Samwise, I can speak to her in German rather than English.
Samwise.
Yeah, I've called her Samwise.
I love that. It makes me laugh every time. Every time. And when I go to our wedding and we have photos, I will be saying the phrase because she's only about. Oh, I got this wrong. I said she was 5'3", and she went, "I'm actually 5'5". But she's still shorter than me. I said, "Do you want me to describe it to you, or shall I get you a box for this photo?" Samwise the Hobbit. Everybody needs a Sam in their life. It's just official. If you go back to completely off tangent, if you go back to like 2000s, around when Lord of the Rings came out, and you looked at all the TV programs, all of the sidekicks were called Sam. Were they? Really?
Yes. There was about 4 or 5 things that had like the sidekicks of Sam. If you go for like the famous kind of like TV shows, the really big stuff,
okay,
a lot of them had the sidekicks of Sam. So it's good fun.
Gonna have to Google that. I'll look at that later. Yeah, Sam, top 10 movie sidekicks. Okay.
Yeah. It's just Sam, top 10 movie sidekicks. I'm gonna look at. No, I'm just going to go through it now. Samwise Gamgee. There's just there's just a lot. There was a lot. Yeah. What's with all the Sams and sidekicks?
Yeah.
Yes. So the 4 main one, Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I don't know the 4th on this. Then you've got Sam for Jon Snow for Game of Thrones,
right.
And then you've got Sam for as the Falcon for Captain America. I don't know who the.
Yeah, I don't know who the first. So we're looking at the same Reddit thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Reddit
I don't know that
post.
4th one.
And then it was Sam. Sam is also in iCarly and Danny Phantom. Yeah, there's loads. There's quite a lot, and it all happened about the same time.
Brilliant.
So it was not that I would say that Sam is the sidekick in this thing. Sam is definitely the main character. Samwise is definitely the main character here.
Love it.
But I've just called her for Samwise. She's even in my phone as Samwise.
There you go.
I think we're at the end, aren't we, here, Jerry?
We are.
We had a rough start. We had a hilarious middle and a very serious, poignant end. We have done we've done 13 episodes, but we've done a year of podcasting.
Yes, incredible.
So give us your final thoughts on this episode and just generally.
So my thoughts are, what a journey to get to this point. Loved it. Loved every minute of it. This has just been brilliant. Absolutely epic that we've created something here, and this is all down to you, really. I know we both do the recording. Well, no, but this is you've made it happen. Again, if this just makes somebody smile, makes somebody just think, it just provides some form of entertainment, it's all worth it. So, big thank you, Dom. Big virtual hug. Big virtual hug for making this this reality.
Yeah, when we get together, we'll have a proper hug then. We have had that a couple before. I think I've loved the year, and I'd like to point out when we say I've loved the year, we're not stopping.
I was going to say
out on the 1st of July.
This isn't the end of the journey.
We are still planning to keep going.
Yeah.
I've got at least 6 episodes planned.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of.
We've got sneak preview for those that are hanging around to the end. We're gonna have a review of the last year in the next one, so I've got some ideas for that. Which is why there's no Improving Our Health Part 2, because we'll review the Improving Healths. We'll have the Vanity Fair interview that we did last year. Yes. That'll come up soon. I've got the next guest booked in for us.
Brilliant.
As well. And then we've got to go through the Christmas special that notes that my mum's written up. And we've got to finally do the Paranormal Activity stuff from you, Jerry. There's a whole blank document ready for October that fantastic. I'm just going to say, you do it. That's yours. So, there's going to be some really good stuff that I think coming up in the next, especially 6 to 9 months. Definitely
looking forward to it.
We will finish there. Thank you very much, folks, for listening, for watching. We do appreciate it. Would absolutely love more comments. We'll also look to do a Q&A special as well again. Thank you very much for watching, folks. Thank you very much for listening. We shall catch you on the next one.
Yes, take care, everybody. Cheers, Dom.